So our friendly neighborhood scholar Enlisted recently put out a video going over the player base of Enlisted and kind of did a deep dive of the different events and the different kind of ideas pertaining to player count in free-to-play games, such as growth and retention. It is a truly good video. You guys should check it out. And we're going to be using a lot of those ideas in today's video and kind of jumping off of them. So make sure you click the card in the top right of your screen or in the description below to get a glimpse at that video, because again, we're going to be using a lot of those ideas here. Now, Enlighten basically came to the conclusion that I would agree with, that Enlisted has good growth, but very poor retention. I think that's true. I've noticed that myself, and I think that all the evidence that he gave in that video definitely lines up with that idea. But one thing that Enlighten didn't do is he didn't talk about why. And I think that that's a very important thing to go over, and it's something that I've spent a lot of time talking about myself over on my stream, twitch.tv/HeyQuadro. You guys should check that out as well. Now, in my view, there are two primary things that kind of cause issues for player retention. Number one, the campaign system in the game. In Enlisted, there are 5 different campaigns, soon to be 6, I'm sure, and that means that there are 10 different factions that are all splitting the player base. Now, this is something that, again, we talk about all the time. It's talked about constantly in the forums. It's talked about constantly on Reddit and in games and on streams and in Discords. It is a major problem with the game because effectively it means that there are 10 different groups of players that are all queuing at the same time into 5 different campaigns. And that massively splits the player base. A game like Hell Let Loose has just 7,000 active players, and that's a very healthy player base. You can find a game in Hell Let Loose and queue just fine and have a good time. Even games like Postscriptum that have sub 1,000 player base do just fine because of the fact that these games do not split their player base across tons of different queues, but Enlisted does. And that means that in Enlisted, a player base of something like 35,000 actually struggles a lot because these different queues split that player base. If there's 10 different queues and 30,000 players, that brings us down to just 3,000 players per queue. And I promise you guys, we are not hitting 30,000 active players. And then once you start factoring in server regions, like European players, North American players, Eastern European, Asian players, all these different queues, that starts to dwindle that number a lot. And as a result, we kind of get very split player bases. We get games filled with bots. And if we aren't filling the games with bots, it would lead to very, very high queue times. And so I think that this is a difficult problem to solve entirely. I think that it's something that is kind of unsolvable at the end of the day, but it is able to be mitigated, I guess is the best way to put this. And I think that the best way to do this is something that, again, we've talked about a lot across the community, and it's to add a quick play function to the game. Right now, you can queue as any side. I would say that the queue as any side button should offer a 15% bonus to XP, or even higher, maybe 30%. And then there should also be a quick play option that will put you into any game in Enlisted. So you can queue up in Enlisted, you can queue the game, and you get put into whichever campaign is currently putting a match together, right? You can queue into Tunisia Axis, and then your next game you could queue Berlin Allies, and you get a little bit of an XP boost to encourage people to do this. And what this would do is effectively kind of bring the player bases in line with one another across the campaigns. It would basically mean that the player base would smooth out. We wouldn't have campaigns like Normandy that are constantly populated, but then also campaigns like Tunisia Axis that are very low populated. It also would help out a lot of players who might not want to grind out each of these different campaigns. One problem that we could run into would be people leaving the game because they didn't get the campaign they wanted for that XP boost. But again, that's pretty easily mitigated by just adding in some sort of penalty for leaving the game repeatedly, make it to where you can't queue again until your last match had finished. That's an easy thing to do. Doesn't need to do anything more than that to fix that issue. So that is my proposed solution in regards to that. Just adding a quick play option with a little bit of an XP boost to encourage players to use it. And I think that the player base will overall smooth out across Enlisted. However, that doesn't really affect retention. The players who currently exist in the game that will help smooth these campaigns out but it won't actually keep players in the game. It won't keep these new players into the game. And there's a lot of reasons why new players probably leave Enlisted, but I think the number one most obvious reason is progression. The progression system we have right now in the game is, to say the least, quite poor. The grind is incredibly heavy. I just don't think that many players out there want to be spending hundreds of hours, if not thousands of hours, grinding out these levels in the game when they can go play Hell Let Loose or Postscriptum or Battlefield or BattleBit, all of these other games out there, and have a fairly cohesive experience with very little grind. I just don't think that players really want to do that. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a grind, but what I'm saying is that the grind should not be the primary way to monetize the game. I propose that Darkflow changes their monetization towards customization and cosmetics, as opposed to the current system, which focuses so heavily on the grind. The grind should be used for short, medium, and long-term progression, as opposed to being used as a way to frustrate players into spending money on the game. It's just not a good system in 2022. Games like Apex, Valorant, CSGO, Hearthstone, Fortnite, all these games have proven that a battle pass and cosmetic system is simply better than the previous system from the early 2010s that focuses so much on the grind. And I think that these developers are really set in this old style of game development, as opposed to the newer style that games like Fortnite and others have employed. So I really think that that shift needs to happen. I think that XP and progression needs to be drastically increased. And short of that, I think that a better system of progression needs to be implemented. In our current system of the game, we have a linear progression system. And what that means, guys, is you unlock things one after the other without any kind of choice. If you're level 15 in Normandy, you are going to unlock the Winchester shotgun next for the Allies. There is no choice. You don't get a decision. And I have done videos where I have redesigned the system to have a more kind of tech tree progression system, the way that, War Thunder, sorry, I couldn't think of the name, the way that War Thunder does it. And I think that this would help the grind a little bit. I think this would feel a lot better for the game. I think that overall players would feel a lot more comfortable with the game if they were making a choice on what they unlock, as opposed to just being forced to unlock whatever the game tells them to. And, it just feels bad whenever you're forced to unlock a plane when you don't fly planes, or forced to unlock a tank when you don't really like using tanks, or unlock, a mortar squad when you don't want to use a mortar squad. So I think that offering a way for players to have a little bit of limited choice in what they are unlocking would be a much better way to monetize the game, and a much better way to offer progression. It also offers better short, medium, and long-term progression goals that, again, I'm not going to get too deep into kind of game design and things like that here. But it would be an overall better system, I think, is what I'm saying at the end of the day here. And maybe we'll get some sort of beta for that with the Pacific. That would be really, really nice to see. I'd love to see that. But overall, guys, that's kind of it. That's my video here, and that's my gist of it. Again, check out Enlisted's video. The link for it is in the description below, and again, the card in the top right of your screen. Again, it's a great video, and Enlightened is a great content creator that makes some really, really great videos out there. But let me know in the comments, guys, what do you guys think about the retention of Enlisted, and what do you think are the core problems? If you're a player who has left Enlisted, let me know in the comments down below. Why did you stop playing? Right? I think that that's important. The developers do watch my videos a lot of the time, and they do see things in the comments. So let them know why you quit the game. Let them know why you're no longer playing, and hopefully we can get players back in the game, and we can increase that retention, because Enlisted is a fantastic game. And I think that it just has some core issues that are causing players to not want to play through it. So that's it, guys. Remember to like and subscribe. I do appreciate it. And you can always follow me and chat with me, twitch.tv/HeyQuadro, and join our community Discord. The links for those in the description below. But without anything else, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.